The debate between Dominik Hasek and Patrick Roy as the greatest goaltender has captivated hockey fans for generations. These two legends define an era of excellence between the pipes, each bringing their unique styles and accomplishments to the ice. Hasek, known as the Dominator, revolutionized the position with his unorthodox, almost chaotic approach to stopping pucks. His flexibility and reflexes allowed him to make saves that seem impossible by conventional standards. Roy, often called St. Patrick, brought technical precision and mental toughness that changed goaltending forever, popularizing the butterfly style that most modern goalies use today. What makes this comparison so fascinating is that both men played during the same period, often facing each other in high-stakes situations. Their contrasting approaches to the same position give us a perfect lens to examine what truly matters in goaltending excellence. Is it the raw statistical dominance that Hasek often displayed, or the championship pedigree and clutch performances that defined Roy's career? This enduring question goes beyond simple preference. It asks us to consider what we value most in a goaltender. Is it innovation, consistency, technical skill, or the ability to elevate in the biggest moments? The Hasek versus Roy debate encapsulates all these questions, making it one of hockey's most interesting discussions. As we examine their careers, playing styles, championships, and lasting impact on the game, we'll see why this conversation remains relevant long after both legends hung up their pads. Dominik Hasek's journey to NHL stardom began far from North American ice. Born in Pardubice, Czechoslovakia in 1965, Hasek developed his unique style behind the Iron Curtain, playing professionally in his homeland from 1981 to 1990. Unlike North American goalies who received traditional coaching from an early age, Hasek's approach evolved from necessity and natural instinct. The Chicago Blackhawks drafted him in 1983, but political realities kept him in Europe until he was 25 years old. When Hasek finally arrived in the NHL for the 1990-91 season, he began as a backup goaltender with little fanfare. His early years in Chicago gave little indication of future greatness. It wasn't until a trade to the Buffalo Sabres in 1992 that the Dominator began to emerge as a force. Initially sharing the crease with Grant Fuhr, Hasek eventually claimed the starting job and began his rise to legendary status in Buffalo, where he would play for 9 seasons before moving to Detroit. Patrick Roy's path followed a more traditional route for North American hockey players. Born in Quebec City in 1965, the same year as Hasek, Roy developed through Canadian junior hockey. The Montreal Canadiens selected him 51st overall in the 1984 NHL draft, and his impact was immediate. By 1985, the young goaltender had earned the starting position with hockey's most storied franchise. Roy's breakout came during the 1986 Stanley Cup playoffs, where as a 20-year-old rookie, he led the Canadiens to a championship and won the Conn Smythe Trophy as playoff MVP. This early success established Roy as a star, and he would remain with Montreal until a famous falling out with coach Mario Tremblay in 1995 led to his trade to the Colorado Avalanche. Their careers overlapped significantly from 1990 to 2003, creating a perfect comparison period. During this time, both goalies redefined excellence of their position, though they took different paths to greatness. Roy immediately established himself as a championship-caliber goaltender, while Hasek was a late bloomer who reached his peak in his 30s. These different trajectories would shape not only their individual stories, but also how fans and analysts would come to evaluate their legacies in the ongoing debate about who truly was the best. The numbers behind Hasek and Roy's careers tell a compelling story about their different paths to greatness. In regular season play, Roy amassed 551 wins across his 19-year career, setting an NHL record that would stand until Martin Brodeur surpassed it. Roy's longevity and consistency allowed him to appear in 1,029 games, maintaining a .910 save percentage and 2.54 goals against average. These numbers become even more impressive considering he played during the high-scoring late 1980s and early 1990s. Hasek's regular season statistics, while covering fewer games, showcase periods of unprecedented dominance. Through 735 NHL games, he recorded 389 wins with a remarkable .922 career save percentage, the highest among retired goalies with substantial careers. During his prime years in Buffalo from 1993 to 1999, Hasek regularly posted save percentages well above .930, numbers that were almost unheard of in that era. His 2.20 career goals against average also edges out Roy's mark. The playoff numbers reveal equally interesting patterns. Roy's postseason legacy includes an NHL record 151 playoff victories and 23 shutouts across 247 games. His playoff goals against average of .230 and save percentage of .918 improved on his regular season numbers, highlighting his reputation for elevating his game when the stakes were highest. Most impressively, Roy won 4 Stanley Cups across 2 different franchises, with a record 3 Conn Smythe Trophies as playoff MVP. Hasek's playoff statistics include 65 wins in 119 games, with a stellar .925 save percentage and 2.02 goals against average, both slightly better than Roy's marks. While his 2 Stanley Cups with Detroit came later in his career, Hasek's playoff performances in Buffalo were often heroic, even when not resulting in championships. His 1999 playoff run with the Sabres saw him record a .939 save percentage, though his team ultimately fell in the finals. The peak years comparison perhaps best illustrates their different statistical profiles. Roy's excellence spanned nearly 2 decades with remarkable consistency. Hasek's peak, while shorter, may have represented the highest level of goaltending ever seen in the NHL, particularly his 1997 to 1999 seasons, where he won consecutive Hart Trophies as league MVP, an honor rarely given to goaltenders. These numbers provide the foundation for comparing 2 legends who dominated their position in different but equally impressive ways. Patrick Roy revolutionized goaltending through his refinement and popularization of the butterfly technique. This approach, characterized by dropping to the knees with pads flared out to cover the bottom of the net, provided a systematic method to goaltending that could be taught and replicated. Roy didn't invent the butterfly, but he perfected it and demonstrated its effectiveness at the highest level. His style emphasized positioning, angle play, and technical precision. Roy would square himself to shooters, maximize his coverage of the net, and rely on his reflexes to handle any shots that threatened the upper corners. Roy's technical approach included characteristic elements that became his trademark. He perfected the use of the paddle-down technique for covering the bottom of the net on wraparounds and close-in plays. His glove positioning, held high and ready, became a model for future generations. Most importantly, Roy brought a methodical consistency to goaltending that transformed it from an intuitive art to a technical science that could be analyzed, practiced, and refined. By contrast, Dominik Hasek's style defied conventional coaching and often appeared to violate the laws of physics. Nicknamed the Dominator, Hasek relied on extraordinary flexibility, reflexes, and anticipation rather than technical positioning. Where Roy would make himself big in the butterfly, Hasek might drop into a half-split, roll onto his back, or stack his pads horizontally, whatever it took to stop the puck. His famous Hasek roll, where he would roll onto his back while keeping his stick and glove active, became his signature move for desperation saves. Hasek's unorthodox techniques included flopping, diving, and using every part of his equipment and body to stop pucks. He regularly handled the puck with his blocker, used the sides of his mask for saves, and employed his stick in ways that bewildered shooters. While Roy's style was built on minimizing movement and controlling rebounds, Hasek thrived in chaos, often creating scenarios where shooters thought they had open net only to find their shots impossibly blocked. The influence of both styles on future generations has been profound. Roy's butterfly technique became the foundation of modern goaltending instruction, with virtually every young goalie today learning his technical principles. Hasek's influence, while less direct in terms of technique, showed goalies the importance of athleticism, creativity, and unconventional thinking when structure breaks down. Together, these contrasting approaches expanded the possibilities of the position, with Roy providing the technical foundation and Hasek demonstrating the artistic ceiling of what a goaltender could achieve. Patrick Roy's championship legacy stands as one of the most impressive in NHL history. His 4 Stanley Cup victories span 2 different franchises and eras, demonstrating his adaptability and consistent excellence. Roy's first championship came in 1986 with the Montreal Canadiens, when as a 20-year-old rookie, he backstopped an underdog team to victory. He repeated this feat in 1993, leading Montreal to their most recent Stanley Cup in another unexpected run, where Roy was the clear difference maker. After his trade to Colorado, Roy continued his winning ways. He led the Avalanche to their first championship in 1996, immediately after the franchise relocated from Quebec. His final Stanley Cup came in 2001, capping a dominant season for Colorado. Perhaps most impressive is Roy's record of 3 Conn Smythe Trophies as playoff MVP 1986, 1993, 2001, the most any player in NHL history. This achievement underscores how Roy wasn't just on championship teams. He was often the primary reason for their success. Dominik Hasek's championship record, while less extensive than Roy's, features its own unique accomplishments. Hasek won 2 Stanley Cups with the Detroit Red Wings in 2002 and 2008, though his role in the second was as a backup. His 2002 victory came as part of Detroit's legendary Russian 5 team, where Hasek recorded 6 shutouts throughout the playoffs. What's notable is that Hasek's NHL championships came later in his career, after he had already established himself as one of the game's elite goaltenders during his time in Buffalo. Where Hasek truly distinguished himself on the championship stage was in international play. His performance at the 1998 Nagano Olympics stands as perhaps the greatest goaltending achievement in international hockey history. Hasek led the Czech Republic, a nation of just 10 million people, to goal by shutting down teams loaded with NHL talent. His semifinal shootout performance against Canada, where he stopped all 5 shooters including Wayne Gretzky, remains legendary. In the gold medal game, he shut out Russia to secure his country's first Olympic hockey gold. The championship comparison highlights different types of greatness. Roy's NHL playoff dominance across multiple teams and eras makes him perhaps the greatest big-game goaltender in history. Hasek's international heroics, combined with his NHL success, demonstrate his ability to elevate on any stage against the world's best competition. Both men proved themselves champions, though Roy's 4 cups give him the edge in pure NHL championship count. When examining individual honors, both goaltenders accumulated impressive collections of awards, though with different patterns that reflect their unique career paths and strengths. The Vezina Trophy, awarded to the NHL's best goaltender each season, provides a clear measuring stick. Patrick Roy won this prestigious award 3 times, 1989, 1990, 1992, establishing himself as a dominant goaltender of his early era. His first 2 Vezinas came in consecutive seasons with Montreal, demonstrating his quick rise to elite status. Dominik Hasek's Vezina Trophy count stands at 6, with wins in 1994, 1995, 1997, 1998, 1999, and 2001. This remarkable run included 4 consecutive Vezinas from 1997 to 1999, a period of goaltending dominance rarely matched in NHL history. The fact that Hasek won his first Vezina at age 29 and his last at 36 highlights his unusual career arc, with his peak coming later than most elite players. Perhaps the most significant difference in their individual achievements comes with the Hart Memorial Trophy, awarded to the NHL's most valuable player. Hasek won this award twice, in 1997 and 1998, becoming the first goaltender since Jacques Plante in 1962 to be named league MVP. This recognition speaks to Hasek's singular importance to his team's success, as voters typically favor skaters for this award. Roy, despite his excellence, never won the Hart Trophy, though he was a finalist in 1989 and 1990. Both goaltenders received numerous All-Star selections, with Roy being named to the NHL All-Star Team 11 times, 6 first team, 5 second team, and Hasek 10 times, 6 first team or second team. Roy also claimed the William M. Jennings Trophy for fewest goals allowed 5 times, while Hasek won it 3 times. Other notable individual achievements include Roy's Calder Memorial Trophy as Rookie of the Year in 1986, and his NHL record for most playoff wins by a goaltender, 151. Hasek holds several Buffalo Sabres franchise records and the NHL record for highest single-season save percentage, .937 in 1998-99. He also claimed Olympic MVP honors in 1998, adding international recognition to his NHL accolades. This collection of individual honors illustrates different aspects of greatness. Roy's awards came earlier and were more evenly distributed throughout his career, reflecting his consistent excellence over nearly 2 decades. Hasek's accolades were concentrated in an extraordinary mid to late career peak, when he reached heights of individual brilliance that perhaps no goaltender has matched before or since. Beyond statistics and trophies, The greatness of both Roy and Hasek was defined by intangible qualities that don't appear in record books but profoundly impacted their teams. Patrick Roy's most celebrated intangible was his unshakable mental toughness, particularly in high-pressure situations. Roy famously declared that he couldn't hear the crowd's jeers because he had his Stanley Cup rings plugging his ears, a comment that perfectly captured his supreme confidence. This psychological edge manifested in numerous pressure situations, perhaps most notably in Game 4 of the 1986 Stanley Cup Finals when, as a rookie, he winked an opposing player after making a critical save. Roy's clutch performances became so consistent that teammates and opponents alike recognized his ability to elevate his game when stakes were highest. His playoff overtime record stands as testament to his composure when one mistake could end a season. Equally important was Roy's effect on his team's overall confidence. Defensemen often played more aggressively knowing Roy was behind them, creating a tactical advantage that extended beyond his actual saves. Dominik Hasek's defining intangible was his unique ability to single-handedly carry teams that otherwise might have been mediocre. During his years in Buffalo, the Sabres were rarely considered elite teams on paper, yet Hasek's presence made them legitimate contenders. His 1999 run to the Stanley Cup Finals, where he posted a .939 save percentage behind a team that scored just 2.1 goals per game, exemplified this quality. Hasek could demoralize opposing teams who would dominate play only to be repeatedly denied. Hasek's unorthodox style also created a psychological advantage, as shooters never knew what to expect. Many reported being overthinking their shots against Hasek, knowing conventional approaches that worked against other goalies might prove useless against him. This mental edge complemented his physical abilities, making him even more formidable. Their leadership styles differ considerably. Roy was vocal and demonstrative, frequently directing his defensemen and not hesitating to display emotions on the ice. His fiery competitiveness became contagious among teammates. Hasek led more by example, his intense work ethic and preparation setting the standard. Though less outspoken than Roy, Hasek's determination and focus communicated volumes to those around him. Teammates often speak of the different atmospheres created by each goaltender. Roy instilled confidence through consistency and big-game reliability. Hasek inspired through moments of seemingly impossible brilliance that energized his teams. These intangible qualities extended their value far beyond the already impressive statistics they accumulated, shaping the very identity of the teams they led. The enduring legacies of Roy and Hasek extend far beyond their playing careers, continuing to shape goaltending at all levels of hockey today. Patrick Roy's most significant contribution came through his refinement and popularization of the butterfly style. By demonstrating the effectiveness of this technique at the highest level, Roy transformed goaltending instruction worldwide. Modern goaltending schools, from youth levels to professional development programs, teach fundamentals that Roy helped standardize. His emphasis on proper positioning, angle play, and technical precision created a blueprint that revolutionized the position. The technical evolution Roy sparked is evident in equipment design as well. Modern goalie pads are specifically engineered to facilitate the butterfly technique, with features like flat inner edges and thicker thigh rises that didn't exist before Roy's influence took hold. The position's evolution from the stand-up style of earlier eras to today's hybrid butterfly approach represents a direct line from Roy's innovations to modern practice. Dominik Hasek's legacy manifests differently, but no less significantly. While few coaches would instruct young goalies to emulate Hasek's unorthodox movements directly, his influence appears in the increased emphasis on athleticism, flexibility, and creative problem-solving. Hasek demonstrated that a position could transcend technical frameworks when necessary, showing future generations that adaptability and instinct remain vital even in an increasingly systematic approach to the position. The question of who changed goaltending more fundamentally remains debated. Roy's systematic approach provided a foundation upon which modern goaltending is built, creating techniques that could be taught and replicated. Hasek's contribution was more conceptual. He expanded the boundaries of what seemed possible between the pipes, encouraging creativity within structure. Together, they created a more complete understanding of elite goaltending that balances technical precision with athletic improvisation. Current NHL goaltenders frequently cite both men as influences, often in complementary ways. Many describe learning Roy's positional fundamentals as their technical foundation, while invoking channeling their inner Hasek when structure breaks down and desperation saves are required. This blended approach has produced a generation of goalies who are both technically sound and remarkably athletic. Beyond technique, both men influence the perceived importance of goaltending itself. Their dominant performances elevated the position's status, leading teams to place greater emphasis on developing and acquiring elite goaltenders. The modern NHL, where teams build from the net out and invest significant resources in goaltending development, reflects the impact Roy and Hasek had in demonstrating how a transcendent goaltender can transform a franchise's fortunes. The opinions of those who played with, against, and coached Roy and Hasek provide valuable insights into their greatness from those who witnessed it firsthand. Wayne Gretzky, widely considered hockey's greatest player, has spoken about the unique challenges both goalies presented. With Patrick, you knew exactly what he would do, but he would still stop you because he executed his technique perfectly. Gretzky once remarked, Hasek was different. You never knew what was coming. He might stack the pads. He might roll over on his back. It was like shooting against someone who rewrote the rules. Former teammates offer particularly telling perspectives. Joe Sakic, who won 2 Stanley Cups with Roy in Colorado, emphasized Roy's competitive nature. Patrick brought this confidence that affected everyone. Before big games, he would be so calm, almost like he already knew we were going to win. That mentality spread throughout the locker room. Conversely, Michael Pekka, who played with Hasek in Buffalo, described a different type of influence. Dom gave us this feeling that we only needed one goal to win. No matter how many shots we gave up, we believed he would make every save. That changed how we approach games. Coaches who work with both goalies note their contrasting impacts on team strategy. Scotty Bowman, who coached Roy in Montreal and Hasek in Detroit, observed, with Patrick, you could implement a more aggressive defensive system because he took away the bottom of the net so effectively. With Dom, you almost wanted to let certain shots come through because he was so exceptional at stopping what typically would be high-percentage scoring chances. Current NHL goaltenders frequently cite both men as major influences. Carey Price, himself considered among the elite modern goaltenders, has mentioned Roy's technical influence on his game. The way Roy moved in the crease, how efficient he was. That's something every Quebec goalie grew up trying to copy. Similarly, Andrei Vasilevsky has spoken about Hasek's impact. Sometimes in practice I try these Hasek-style saves, flopping around. It's not how you play 95% of the time, but having that creativity in your toolbox can make the difference in a critical moment. Goaltending coaches have perhaps the most nuanced assessment. Mitch Korn, renowned for his work developing elite NHL goalies, summarized the complementary nature of their influence. Roy gave us the system, the foundation that we build every young goalie on today. Hasek showed us that once you master that foundation, there's still room for athleticism and improvisation. Modern goaltending needs both elements. Hockey analysts who study both careers extensively often emphasize their different paths to greatness. As former goaltender and analyst Darren Pang noted, Roy defined what consistent excellence looked like game after game, season after season. Hasek showed us what the absolute ceiling of goaltending brilliance could be when everything clicked. They represent two different but equally valid definitions of greatness. The debate between Dominik Hasek and Patrick Roy as hockey's greatest goaltender ultimately reveals more about what we value in athletic excellence than provides a definitive answer. The case for Roy rests on his unparalleled championship success, consistency across 2 decades, and revolutionary technical influence. 4 Stanley Cups, 3 Conn Smythe Trophies as playoff MVP, and his role in transforming goaltending technique give him a legacy few athletes in any sport can match. Roy defined big game excellence and provided the technical blueprint that generations of goaltenders would follow. The argument for Hasek centers on his unprecedented statistical dominance during his prime years, his ability to elevate otherwise ordinary teams, and the pure athletic brilliance he brought to the position. 6 Vezina Trophies, 2 Hart Trophies as league MVP, and the highest career save percentage among retired goalies speak to a peak-level performance that many consider unmatched in hockey history. His 1998 Olympic performance alone stands as perhaps the greatest goaltending achievement on the international stage. What makes this comparison so fascinating is that it remains unresolved despite decades of analysis. Both goalies reimagined what was possible at their position, but did so in completely different ways. Roy showed that goaltending could be a precise science with repeatable techniques and consistent results. Hasek demonstrated that it could also be an athletic art form that defied conventional wisdom. Together, they expanded our understanding of excellence between the pipes. Perhaps the most fitting conclusion is that hockey was fortunate to witness both careers during the same era. The contrast between Roy's methodical brilliance and Hasek's chaotic genius provided a perfect study in different paths to greatness. Their complementary legacies gave the position its modern form, technically sound yet athletically dynamic, structured but adaptable. Today's elite goaltenders don't choose between the Roy or Hasek approach. They incorporate elements of both. In the end, the question who was better may miss the more meaningful point that both men redefined excellence in their own unique ways. Roy was the architect who built goaltending's modern foundation. Hasek was the artist who showed its limitless possibilities. Together, they elevated their position in the sport itself, leaving a legacy that continues to influence hockey at every level today.